Tavoch. This is story number 34 in the Shivchei Baal Shem Tov. Also tonight is the beginning of the 17th day of Tammuz and the beginning of the period of the 3 weeks in which between the fasts of the 17th of Tammuz and the 9th of Av, Tisha B'Av, we commemorate the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, of the temple, as well as the destruction of Jerusalem. However, within this destruction, within this seemingly extremely negative point, there is the most positive of points, which is the destruction. The negativity was a necessary first step toward the redemption, toward the rebuilding, toward the new, better era with Mashiach and in the era of redemption. Story number 34, the Baal Shem Tov, reminds me personally of a scene, a moment in Fiddler on the Roof. And those who are familiar with the story will understand why. Quite possibly, I would imagine that Sholem Aleichem took it from the Shivchei Baal Shem Tov. It says, again, the rabbi who is compiling the stories of the Shivchei Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Yafi, says, Ot Shamati, I heard from the mouth of Rabbi Folk, which I mentioned before, I think it's Gedalia Folk, that he was exiled to one of the cold countries along with Rabbi Yosef Ashkenazi, who was the Shliach Tzibur of the Baal Shem Tov in the time of the Big Bricha. The Big Bricha, or Big Exile, escape, in the historical context here, is after the massacre of Uman. 8 years after the passing of the Baal Shem Tov, and some 40 years before the famous Rabbi Nachman would come to the town of Uman, there was a major massacre by the Cossacks, the Haidamach Cossacks, that basically caused, first of all, the extermination of the Jews of Uman at the time, but a great fear and the terrible situation of the Jews in the area of Podolia, where many of them had to run away, were exiled elsewhere for quite a few years. So these two, the year I think of 1768, so these two people mentioned here, Rav Folk and Rav Yosef Ashkenazi, are among those who have to run away after this horrible massacre. And this is just a reference of how Rabbi Yafi gets the story from Rabbi Folk, who heard from Rabbi Yosef Ashkenazi, and how he knew it. He was the Shliach Tzibur by the Baal Shem Tov in Mizbeach. So Rav Folk heard from Rabbi Yosef Ashkenazi, and this is how the story comes to be recorded. Once, Rabbi Yosef Ashkenazi had a dream. He saw a chassid that passed away, and he left a small son, a small wise son, and he wanted to set for him a shidduch. He wanted to arrange a marriage for him. However, the marriage that was found was not a level of what his father would have expected for his son. This is, remember, a man who died, they're trying to arrange the shidduch, the arranged marriage for his son, and it's not what his father, who was by then gone, would have wanted for his son. So this pious Jew came to Rabbi Yosef in a dream and asked him to come to his wife, to his widow, and tell her in his name that this shidduch, this arranged marriage that they want to set for this for his son, is not proper for him. He's not comfortable with it. But accept the first man who will come to the house. That's the one I want for the shidduch. The man is going to come. Do not arrange it with the how do you call it? With the man you're thinking to arrange. Then in his dream he sees the image of the Mizbeach, the altar. And in this Mizbeach, he falls upon his, he sits down and his head falls upon his knees. He's like facing down. And he starts yelling in the dream the words of the prayers of Slichos when you are reciting days of fasting, the special prayers to ask for forgiveness from heaven and to try to get a mercy in heaven for our situation. So he starts screaming in the dream, Aneini Hashem Haneinu, answer me Hashem, answer me, Aneinu Avinu Aneinu, etc. That prayer. And the prayer goes through the whole Aleph Bet. This is the nusach of this prayer, the custom of this prayer. And then he says, Aneinu Elokei Avotenu, answer God of our fathers, answer us, God of Abraham, answer us, the fear of Isaac, of Yitzchak, answer us, Avir Yaakov, this is the title, answer us, Magen David, the protector of David, answer us, and goes into a nusach that was not recited by the Jews of the town. It was something longer, present in Nusach Ashkenaz, Nusach Sfarad, how they recite this prayer. And this is in his dream. Aneinu Elokei Amerkava Aneinu. And then he says, answer the God of the Merkava, the divine courage. And then he goes up into the sky. In the morning, he came to the Baal Shem Tov and he told him his dream. And the Baal Shem Tov tells him, your dream wasn't just a dream, you actually had a vision, like a prophetic vision. And I also saw it with my own eyes, that it came to be. The Mizbeach, where the Malach Michael, the Archangel Michael, he was bringing there all the neshamos, all the souls in front of Hashem. There is a reference where in the Gemara this is explained. And he asked him, why did he say in that Aneinu? And the Baal Shem Tov asks, and the man that replies, the Baal Shem Tov is telling that in his dream, he asked what is to be said in this Aneinu. And the answer was that the neshamos, the souls, cannot go from one world upon the next, except through a recital of the entire prayer of Aneinu. And why would this nusach, this form of reciting the prayer, would be said? And the answer was that because up above in Shemayim, in heaven, this is the way the nusach is done. And then the Baal Shem Tov sent a message to the widow to tell her regarding the shidduch that the shidduch was to be done as it was requested in the dream. I would assume. It's kind of a deep story because it touches the idiom, the idea of shidduchim, of how to arrange things, how things are disposed in heaven, and how the souls of those who pass want to worry about us, about what we do in terms of choosing the partner for our sons or whatever, the shidduch. What is the actual how things should be done? Is an interesting story. Now, the mentioning of this Hasidim had to flee because of the big pogrom of Uman touches also the idea we're going into the 3 weeks, but at the end, like in the story, Hashem wants, like a father who is, up in Shemayim, wants to change things, but wants to correct things because he's concerned that we should do things the right way. Shavua Tov, a good Tevach.